Hey everybody, today is December the 14th and it is a Monday, our last Monday of school before we get our Christmas break. So I want everybody to finish strong. Let's work hard so that we don't have to think about any school stuff while we're on our holiday. We want to make sure everything's caught up and we are good to go so that we can enjoy our break. So today we're still talking about the distributive property to make factors easier to multiply. Again, Miss Base's motto is work smarter, not harder. I want to make things easier for me to get a total and get a total quickly. And one of the ways that I can use that is using the distributive property. It just makes things easier for my mind to calculate those facts, especially when I don't know my basic facts. So let's jump in and look at what we call decomposing numbers. Now, we talked about decomposing numbers back when we did addition. And we decompose numbers in addition by using our place value. We broke them into place value and then started calculating the total by putting those back together by place value. So it allowed us to make the numbers easier for us to add them. So let's take a look at the examples below. We're going to break up factors to make it easier for us to multiply them. And normally when we're multiplying one digit by one digit, we just break up one of the factors to make it easier. And then we put it into two parts usually. But as you start looking at numbers and start developing a stronger sense of numbers for bigger numbers, you can break them down into more parts than just one if it makes it easier for you. So we're going to take a look at the examples below of the number bonds that were made. Now, you did number bonds in kindergarten through second grade more than likely. So let's think about what we have with 7. So 7's our beginning number. We're breaking 7 down into 2 and 5. Now, you all told me that you love 2's and 5's when you're multiplying because you can skip count. It makes it easier. For you. So we can break that into 2 and 5. Now, if I were breaking down 7, that's exactly what I break it into. But some of you may see that number bond a little differently for 7. You may think of 4 and 3, which also works for 7. So there's not just one way to break a number apart. It depends on what you feel is going to make it easiest for you. Now, let's look at the number 9. Number 9 can be broken into 5 and 4. Again, we all love multiplying by fives because we can use our skip counting that we learned when we first started school. We learned how to skip count by fives. So it makes it easier for us. But 9 can be broken down into more ways than just 5 and 4. So you've got to decide which method works best for you when you're breaking those numbers apart. And we can apply this to that array, and we're going to do so in just a little bit to help you figure out how you can decompose those numbers. I want you to look at the numbers 8, 6, and 9. And I want you to think about how many different ways can you decompose those numbers. In your lesson work today, you're going to respond to me by putting how many ways you can break apart 8, 6, and 9 and decompose those into two other numbers. So it's going to be just like we did over here, and you've already got one example of 9 over here, hint, hint. So you can decompose those. You can take a picture and upload it if you want to draw the number bonds, or you can just list it the different ways that you would break 8 up. But that's going to let me know that you've watched my video, and you're going to do that with 6, 8, and 9. Now, let's take what we just did with those number bonds, and let's apply it to an array. Now, we can sometimes break arrays apart to make them simpler for us, especially if they're numbers that we don't know the basic facts for. There's many ways, just like with the number bond, to break an array apart, because that's all we're doing is we're breaking that array apart just like a number bond. We're breaking one of those numbers up into to two numbers that make that number. Sometimes a benchmark number is best to start out with, like 5s or 10s. Sometimes we can just split the array right in half to make it easier for us. So let's look at the original array we have. We have 6 times 8. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to break apart, using this line, one of the numbers. So I'm going to click on that line, and I can take this dot and move it any way I want. So that means that I can break the array up into different ways. Now I'm going to use the strategy that they gave us about splitting the array in half. So I'm going to look at what my new array is at this point. My new array has changed. I originally had 6 times 8. So I'm going to go ahead and come down here at the bottom, and I'm going to type my original array, which was 6 times 8. But I no longer have 6 times 8 because I broke that array up. I have it broken into half. Which number would I have been making the number bond for? Yes, it's going to be 8 because I broke 8 into two parts. I broke it into 4 plus 4. Now, I've got to come down here and write a new equation to represent the arrays that I see now. So on this side, I have 6 times 4. So my array is going to be 6 times 4. And then I've got to put a plus sign because I have to add this side of the line to whatever I calculate on the other side of the line. I also see, because I did the strategy of splitting it in half, I know this side of the array is the same as this one. So I'm going to do 6 times 4 again to get an answer here. Now that I have that array, I'm going to throw in another way that you can write this particular distributive property. This is not the only way that you can write it. I'm going to show you another way that you're probably going to see more when you get in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. So I want you to think about looking at the number sentence I just wrote, 6 times 4 plus 6 times 4. What number did we keep that we did not decompose? You're right, we kept the 6. So I'm going to type in 6. I'm going to go ahead and put a parentheses. What number did we decompose? Yes, we had 8. What did we break that 8 into? We broke it into 4 plus 4. Now, I want you to look at what you're seeing here and tell me how it's going to relate to what we did here. What do we notice? And what do we wonder? Okay. One of the things that we do in multiplication is there's more ways than to say it's multiplication besides an X. And these parentheses that we put here, those can also mean multiplication. So what's happening here, and I'm going to show you by drawing lines, what's happening here is that I'm taking this 6, and if I were to put 4 plus 4 together, I get 8, right? So it would be 6 times 8. But I broke it apart to make it easier for me, so I'm going to multiply 6 times 4. And when I do that, I get 24. And then I've got to put my plus sign. I'm going to multiply again. I'm going to do 6 times the second 4, and I also get 24. Now I'm ready to add those together. So I'm going to decompose those numbers so it makes it easier for me to add by place value. So I'm going to do 20 plus 20, which gives me 40. And then 4 plus 4 gives me 8. I'm going to put those back together to get 48. So 20 plus 8 equals, or 40 plus 8 equals 48. So now we know that 6 times 8 equals 48. Now, if you're looking at this on your anchor chart on your classroom target slide, I have an example of the distributive property written this way. Remember, the number that's outside is the number that doesn't change. So the 6 didn't change. We still have 6 rows. The number that did change was our number of columns, and we broke that into 4 and 4. So there's where the 4 and 4 comes from. Now, again, this is not the only way to break this array apart. So I'm going to show you one more example of another way that we could break it apart. So let me take off what I've already done here so that you can see it a different way. I'm going to come up here and click on this bar. This time I'm going to break the 6 up. And instead of breaking the 6 up into half, because I've already used that strategy, let's look at another way we might be able to break this 6 up. Okay. So this time I'm breaking the 6 up. I'm decomposing that 6 to make it easier to multiply. So my original equation was 6 times 8 still. That didn't change. I have a new number that's going to change here because my first number, my number of rows did change. So the very first one is going to be 2 rows of 8. So I'm going to do 2 times 8 in parentheses. plus, now I'm going to look at the bottom portion of it because I broke it apart. I wasn't looking at this array as a whole picture. I was looking at it split up like it's indicated with that red line. So now I've got 4 times 8 and 4, oops, forgot my parentheses there, guys. 4 times 8. And I'm going to go ahead and close that parentheses out. Now, if I'm using the other way to write it as the distributive property, what number did not change? You're exactly right. We didn't change the 8. So I'm going to put the 8 on the outside this time. And inside, the number that we decomposed was the 6. And I broke the 6 into 2 plus 4. Oh, there's you another hint for those numbers we decomposed earlier. So you know there's an example of decomposing that 6. And again here, we're going to multiply to get our answer. If I'm multiplying, and you're going to see that here, how does this relate to this? You see 8 times 2. Remember, the number outside that parentheses means to multiply. 8 times 2 equals 16. And then we're going to add 4 times 8. And we know that 4 times 8, if we calculate that, it's going to be 32. And now we're ready to add those together. So 10 plus 30 is 40. 6 plus 2 is 8. So our final answer is going to be 48. Now I've just shown you 2 ways to break this array up. Again, there is many ways to break this array up. You've got to choose what's best for you, what's easiest for you to multiply. That's what I love about math. Again, and I keep saying that math, we all see it differently. We want to break the numbers up to make it easiest for us. And we can come to the same answer using strategies, maybe a different strategy for each of us, but we still can come to the same answer in a problem if we use a strategy that works, that makes sense to us. So again, you can break numbers up to make them make sense for you. In this case, 2 and 4 is an easy way to do it. You could also have broken the strategy using in half. You could have used the strategy of 5s and broke this into 5 and 1, which would have been much easier for me to multiply. So think about how you can break the numbers up to make it easiest for you to be successful. And again, this is another example of how you can use that distributive property. So the number that comes outside is the number that you didn't change, the number you didn't make a number bond with. The numbers that go inside the parentheses are the ones that you made the number bond for. And in this case, we made the number bond for 6. I hope this helps. If you've got any questions, always hop on and ask me. I am available on the whole group meet after our group meetings at noon. So that means that you can reach me probably at 1 o'clock. So if you have any questions, today's assignment, you're going to complete the problem of the day. And then you're going to complete some Google Slides, which I'm going to show you some examples of before we get off here. So today, how you're going to complete your assignment for today is you're going to actually take these dots and pull them over. You're going to make an array to match it. Now you notice that there's no other dots here, but when you have this blue here, you can hit Control C, Control V, and it makes another one for you to start building that array. So you can just hit Control C, Control V, and begin to match up the array here. Once you're finished with that, then you're going to be able to click here to type in what you broke up. What number did you decompose here? So you're going to write your decomposed numbers here, and you're going to break it up using a line. And you can click up the top of your screen, and there is a place for you to add a line. But I might go back and add that line for you so that all you have to do is break it up based on what you did to the number here. And you're going to have a choice here as to what you break 8 into, because you can decompose it in different ways. So you get a choice here about what you see is easier for you. I hope everybody has a great day. Again, let's finish strong and be ready for our Christmas break. I'm excited for everybody to get your ornaments on our tree at school so I can come and see them. I hope everybody has a great day. Thanks.